Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another special live episode of the Bliss Code podcast. And these live episodes I really love because I bring on friends, family, people that I know in the community, and I really try to elevate us women and bring us to the next space. And that's so important to me to showcase a bunch of awesome women to you. So I have another awesome woman sitting here with me today, Miss Taima Gates. And she is a passionate therapist, a devoted mother, and a loving wife with a rich background in narrative model and emotionally focused therapy. We're going to have to talk a little bit about what that is because I don't fully know what that is. But she has dedicated her career to helping individuals, couples, and families to navigate their emotional journeys toward healing and well being, which I'm so serious about well being. So I'm stoked to have her here. She believes in the power of therapy to overcome emotional barriers and improve self perception and relationships. Beyond her professional life, she cherishes family ties and is an avid advocate for social justice with a love for music and travel. Please, everybody, help me welcome Taima Gates.
Hey,
Hey,
Jamie.
girl. Now, look, a little fun fact, y'all. And I'm gonna take these earrings out because I feel like they're clinking inside of the microphone. Taima and I have known each other since the college days.
That's
Okay,
right.
we both went to the illustrious Morgan State University, and aren't we the same major?
Well, I
I
was a
feel like I saw you.
communication studies, but you were speech communications. I was
Yeah.
communication studies. Yeah,
Okay. So we saw each other frequently and haven't seen each other in like the past 20 years.
that's
So,
right. The good old speech and debate days.
oh my gosh, yes. So we need to catch up. Tell me what's going on. How did you get into, because you're a therapist now, you're into people's well-being. How did you go from where we were in college, all about the speech and debate team and, public speaking, all of that? How did it translate over to what you're doing now with therapy?
That's a great question. It was a windy road, I will say
Mm,
that much. I didn't start off with a clear plan in mind to become a therapist. It's so interesting. I initially was a psychology major as a freshman, but Psychology 101 was so boring.
I was a psychology major when I started too for like the first
That's
two
so
weeks.
funny. That's so
Yeah.
funny that I was in. I think the psychology major required two speech courses, and so my second speech course was with Dr. Berry, and Dr. Berry convinced me to join the speech and debate team, and really, I think, changed the course of that part of my academic journey. After I finished school, I kind of stumbled my way through my 20s teaching, working in finance for a little bit, but nothing really stuck or felt like it fulfilled me. So it was through my faith community, I decided that I was going to pursue my initial graduate degree, which was in a Master's of Divinity, because I thought that I
Mm.
was going to be doing ministry for the rest of my life full time. And I did do ministry, and I still do feel like I'm serving people, just in a
Yeah.
different way with broader frames and no walls. Um, it was through that program that led to my second graduate degree, because I did not want to go back to work yet. And I thought that I could stay at home for another year with my firstborn daughter. I decided to go back to graduate school to study counseling. And through that program, a internship was the requirement. And so my internship was at the hospital of the University of Pennsylvania, and I did medical chaplaincy, And what that means is I worked in the trauma bay. When patients come into the facility, I was the person that facilitated the care and the treatment with family and loved ones and with the medical staff. And I learned so many things because of that work. But one of the things I learned is the value of relationships.
Mm-hmm.
Because what would happen was on the very worst day of people's lives, the thing that mattered to them the most was their person. Have you talked to my mother yet? I need you to reach my father. Do you know where my brother is at? And I knew at that moment that I wanted to be a part of the catalyst to heal and foster security in relationships for people like me, from families like I come from, and from the communities that I feel the most comfortable with.
I love
And that
that.
led me to another graduate program at
You still wasn't ready to go back to work yet.
because in spite of all that learning, I still didn't have the credential I needed to be a therapist. And I found my way to Drexel University, where I earned my credentials to become a marriage and family therapist. And I've been doing that work now for about 9 years.
Nice. I love it. I love it. Helping people is, you know, a selfless task. So, how are you finding a way for, because I know it's important for you to teach people about, loving on themselves and setting their boundaries and putting
Absolutely.
themselves first. I know you really believe in that. How are you finding the time with giving all of that to other people? Are you finding the time for that yourself?
I think, I think it's something I've learned to be better at because it's not
Yeah.
super intuitive for me. I think that I am someone who has a lot of mindfulness and consideration of the people I'm in relationship with, their wants and their needs. When you
Hmm.
are happy, I feel happy. When you are comfortable, I feel comfortable. And it was through my parenting that I learned that it was necessary for
Hmm.
me to take care of myself because you can't pour from an empty pot. And
Right.
I had to learn that. So I'm better at it. And I think as a result, I've developed curriculums and content and program for women to foster and facilitate that kind of practice of self care.
Hmm. And I know you're big on relationships and everything. So are you mostly, I know you do families, couples,
Right?
individuals, but
And
what's your specialty? Like, who are you mainly focused on? Do you have a focus?
I would say that my practice is kind of split. I work with a lot of couples and I work with individuals. I would say it's pretty 50-50.
Hmm.
Because I approach the work in the same way. It's systemic, right? So even if I'm working with someone one on one, I'm taking into account their relationship history, their families. Where
Okay.
did you come from? How did your people inform how you see yourself and how you see your world? So it's all relational to me, even if it's one on one.
Okay. That's a big part of you communicating with them.
Yes, absolutely. Because I think that for most of us, we want to feel secure in our identity. And I think part of what facilitates me feeling the most secure is when I feel secure in my relationships with others. And I just don't mean
Okay.
like intimate or dating relationships. I think when I feel secure and stable in my professional relationships and my family relationships and my friendships, I feel settled and then I can be more focused on my purpose and my identity.
Oh my gosh, that's so true. I hadn't even thought about it like that. If you that is like the thing that we cling on to, our friends, our family, our significant other. And if that's not right, those tapes are playing in the background while
I
we're
love
doing
that
anything
tapes and
else.
yes, I love that the tapes are playing, and it actually kind of like reminds me of the narrative piece that you started with that we started with, because when I think about the narrative, I think about the story we tell ourselves about ourselves,
Hmm.
and the story that we tell ourselves about ourselves is directly connected to what I was told about me in my childhood. If my
Yes.
grown ups were affirming and validating and supportive, I internalize that. That starts to be the story I tell myself about myself. That's my
That's so
narrative. That's
true.
the tape that loops. I can
Yes.
do this. I can overcome this. I can move forward. I am capable. But if my grown-ups didn't provide that for me, then how is that going to inform the narrative? How is that going to inform the tape that
Yeah.
loops? And how could that influence the way that I connect to people or don't connect to people in
Right.
relationships?
Right. Yes, because you're seeing from a certain lens based off of the tapes that are
Yes,
running. You know what I'm saying?
yes,
And it's crazy, like you're saying, like, how our grown-ups talk to us or what they were saying or the feelings that they were giving us. When we're in this life like we are, me doing holistic wellness, you doing therapy, and I'm sure holistic wellness as well, we start to self-analyze. And I have been noticing so many things about myself, Taima. Like,
ciao.
girl, I'm telling you, just like a couple of weekends ago, okay? And this might not sound like a big deal to other people, but it was a big deal to me. Me and my boyfriend went to Atlanta, and there's this big Ferris wheel thing there called Skyview, and you get
Mhm.
to like be above, like, stories above. You're looking at all the tall buildings and you can see way down on everything, and it goes around three times, and you're enclosed. And he wanted to go on it, I wanted to go on it, but girl, I was nervous and my armpits were sweating. Like, I was nervous. I was like, I am so scared to get on this. And when I got in line, I felt a little bit better because there were children getting on with their parents too. Because it wasn't like a ride. It wasn't gonna go fast. It's very slow and very leisurely. But I was very nervous, and I started recalling this moment when I was little. I had to be in single digits, and I was walking across some bridge with my mom, and it was like the bridge was wobbly. I don't know
Mhm.
what kind of attraction we were at, but some other kids were like jumping up and down,
Mhm.
having a
Mhm.
good time, and I was so freaked out and scared. And that memory was like resurfacing. You know what I mean? And
Yes.
I remember my mom telling me, like, don't let them see you be afraid because they're going to keep on doing it. So I'm like trying
Mm.
to put on a tough face, but I'm like, I'm
Mm.
scared. You know what I'm saying? I
Yeah.
really was feeling like a little girl in Atlanta like a couple of weeks ago, trying to get on
Yeah.
this thing and talking myself through it. And then we get on, I'm still kind of sweating, and I'm telling my boyfriend, like, okay, babe, talk to me. Like, don't move too much because the thing rocks a little bit. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, just let me get used to this and look around and let my body settle on the fact that I'm okay. Because you know what mental leaps you take.
Yes,
I'm
that's
gonna
right.
die. You know what I'm saying?
That's
Like,
right.
I knew I wasn't gonna, like, this thing is gonna stop. We're all gonna tumble out of it,
And that's it
and
for
I'm gonna
me.
fall to my death. Yeah.
Hmm.
Like, I'm leaping all the way to death. Like,
Hmm.
seriously.
Yeah, the
But
bird does some interesting
I
things.
felt so good afterwards because I was like, I did it. And I feel like I could get on it again. And I feel like, what is next? And I really felt like that was metaphorical for me
Mm.
to start conquering anything. Like, look around, like, what am I unnecessarily afraid of
I love that.
that
I
I can
love that.
overcome?
I
But
love
just
that.
like you said, with relationships, it made me feel more comfortable because he was there and I trusted him.
Yes, that security helped you to redirect yourself.
Yes,
Mm.
because I was like, he's got me.
Yeah,
I know nothing can happen to me while I'm around him. So I'm okay getting in this thing that I'm afraid of.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
I don't know if I would have been able to get on it with a stranger or a group of
yeah,
strangers or by
yeah.
myself.
That's so interesting because I talk so much about how the perception of security it can change the course of our life.
Hmm.
So there's this idea around attachment theory, like the way that we connect to people or we don't connect to people. And that's directly informed by my experiences, right? So if I
Mhm.
have a history of being in relationship with people who were dismissive to me, then I might have a propensity to function in a very anxious way in my relationships.
Mm.
Let me put that um, in Taima language. If all the dudes I was messing with cheated, then I'm gonna be looking through everybody's phone,
Right.
even if you haven't given me cause, because
Right.
my perception of security or attachment is informed by my experiences, right? And
Mhm.
so if I have a stable, consistent present in my life, then I have more stamina or courage to deal with the challenge compared to if I don't.
Right.
Right? Have you? I'm sure you've seen a trust fall,
What, say
right?
that?
The
Oh, trust
trust
fall.
fall,
Yes,
right?
yes, yes.
So in another part of my life, I was working with this organization, and they had your girl in the woods. I'm climbing, I'm climbing trees. I'm swinging from ropes, and it's not necessarily my zhuzh, but it was a requirement for the job. And so
Lord.
so I have found a picture from that time. This is before I had kids. It was very early in my husband and I's marriage. And I found a picture and we were kind of laughing about it because I was so agitated because I broke a nail while I was out there. I had my hair pressed. It had reverted. It was a mess. And so we were just chit chatting and laughing about it. And my children, my daughters, overheard. And I was explaining to them some of the things I did. And the purpose of these exercises was to facilitate community, right? And so we were
Okay.
describing the trust fall to them, right? Now, this is a new job. I'm meeting these folks from for a new time. This is when I lived in California. I'm from Baltimore.
Mhm.
I don't know y'all for real. So when it was my time to do the trust fall, I'm bracing myself. I'm bending my knees. I'm looking over my shoulder. I'm doing everything that
Yeah.
I can to try to protect myself because my sense of security and trust was low. So
Yeah.
when I was explaining the exercise to my children, my husband said, "Let's try it." Now my oldest daughter, she's a little more tentative, so she's like, "Well, wait a minute. How far am I supposed to fall from? Are you sure you're gonna catch me? I don't know." So we talked through it. We addressed her senses of worry, her sources of worry and concern, and ultimately she did the exercise and she fell and we caught her and that was it.
Mhm.
Now, when it was my youngest daughter's time, who's a little bit of a renegade, and she stood on the table, she crossed her arms, she didn't say one, two, three, I come. She just fell back. We weren't even ready to catch her.
Uh-oh.
But my husband swooped in and caught her, and we were like, "Babe, that's not how you're supposed to do the exercise. You're supposed to tell the people that you're coming so that we can be prepared." And she laughed. She said, "Ha ha ha ha," and that was it. But what I learned through that exercise was her sense of security and trust was so high
Mm.
that it never occurred to her that we would let her hit the ground. It didn't even occur to her.
Mm.
In her mind, there's no way I'm gonna hit this ground. That's how secure and stable her trust is. And I think that's what most of us crave in our relationships. What
Yes.
gets in the way of that, though, is our wounds, right? The things that
Mhm.
have happened to hurt us. And so my approach is if we want to function in a secure way in our relationship, we have to heal our sources of woundedness so that I'm prepared to have access to security and trust in my relationship. Does that make sense?
Yeah. It makes total sense because, and I tell people this all the time too, is that in order for you to get the security and trust that you crave, you have to make yourself vulnerable enough
Yes.
to
Yes.
possibly fall and
That's
not get
exactly
it.
that's exactly right. That's
Ain't
exactly
that
right.
crazy? Like
That's
you
exactly
gotta,
You have to be vulnerable because let's go back to the analogy. It's very vulnerable to cross your arms and fall backwards. You
Yes.
hope that you're going to be caught, but the
Yeah.
reality is you can't guarantee it.
Right.
And so that's why our picker has to be good, because I'm not going to invest my vulnerability into someone that is not going to produce the kind of security and trust that
Mm-hmm.
I deserve.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're talking about like intimate relationships and things
Yes.
like that, like picking people and
Even friendships,
true.
right? Even
Yeah.
professional relationships.
Mm.
Yeah, I need to be mindful of where I'm investing my vulnerability.
Yeah. And how do you get to a vulnerability? Because you're talking about even picking in professional relationships. How do you choose those?
I think it requires self awareness, right?
Mm-hmm.
I have to know where my boundaries and limits are. What has value for me? Because
Yeah.
my boundaries are not up for debate. I'm
Right.
allowed to have the boundaries and limits that I have. If I say I'm not working on the weekend, do not call me on the weekend.
Right.
Respect
Right.
my boundary. It doesn't matter if it's not valuable for you. If you don't have the same boundary, it's my boundary. And in order for us to maintain this professional relationship, you have to respect my boundary. That's what's going to make me feel
Absolutely.
secure and want to invest into you professionally or into this corporation or wherever I'm
Right.
working.
Right.
Yeah.
We have a comment. Crystal says she's listening in. Thank you, Crystal. Let us know if you have questions or comments. Chime in with us. That's the privilege of you tuning in with us live. You get to kind of be in this conversation with us. So, Taima, let's get back to what you were just saying because you triggered a thought in me about if you don't work on the weekends, set your boundaries that you don't work on the weekends. Don't call me on the weekends. And I work for myself now, but I remember working in corporate America, if you will, or government agencies, whatever, like the regular working world, and feeling anxiety around somebody that asked me to do something that I didn't want to do, or
Yeah.
overstepping my boundary,
Yeah.
especially as a single mother
Mm,
with me being the only source of income within my
mm,
household.
mm.
I felt nervous, like,
Sure.
if I say no, what does this mean?
Is there a
And
consequence?
yes, I've
Mm,
been the type of person that would take that mental leap, just like I did with the Skyview in Atlanta, all the way from being in this ride to I'm gonna die, which I knew wasn't gonna happen, but that was the fear thought. And the fear thought behind setting boundaries at work is I'm gonna get fired, and the farther down fear thought is I won't be able to eat and I'll get evicted or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like
we're
that's
gonna
really
be on
where
the
your
street.
brain is
Yeah, yeah,
going.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Like if I don't say yes to doing this, I am going to be struggling for my survival. What do you say to people
Yes,
that feel like
yeah.
that?
All of those thoughts and fears and worries are valid because I think that that is what we've been socialized to think is our responsibility as employees. And
Mhm.
so it really takes a lot of redirecting and changing our perspective to recognize that my no is allowed and my no is a complete sentence.
Mhm. Ooh, spice that. My no is a complete sentence. And Gen Z, they are not playing around with it.
You
They are letting
listen,
you
they're
know.
fantastic at it. I love it. I'm here for all of it because I think
Yeah.
what informs that in part is they have high enough self-valuation to
Mhm.
recognize that I am entitled to have boundaries and limits. And
Yeah.
your boundaries and your wants and needs do not supersede my boundaries and limits.
Ooh, I like it. And you know what? Let's give ourselves a pat on the back as millennial parents because obviously we influence these Gen Z
Yes.
children.
Listen, because my
We gave them
children,
that self-love, you know?
yes, my children tell me no. And sometimes I'm like, wait a minute. But then another part of me is like, good for you for having a
Yeah.
boundary and a limit. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. And I have encouraged my son the same way. Like, tell me how you're feeling. Please express yourself.
please, yes,
I want to hear it. There's respect and disrespect, but it's not automatic disrespect for you to tell me how you're feeling and for
exactly,
us to have a conversation around it and figure this out
exactly,
together, because you
exactly.
are going to be on your own one day.
Yeah, that's what
And
I was.
my son's getting ready to go to college, and it's like, you need to learn to exercise these things with other people outside of me.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm gonna need you to also understand that I'm a woman and I'm a human being just like you. And I don't always have it right. And I'm figuring out things as well. And that you need to give me grace. And I feel like that shows him to give himself grace as
Yes,
he goes through his journey of growth, you know?
yes, yes. I
Yeah.
agree wholeheartedly.
Yes. Let's dive into some of the things that, because I asked you to suggest a topic, and we've already been touching on it a little bit: self advocacy and the prioritizing of pleasure. I'm feeling
Yeah.
this. I'm feeling this because I'm all about people, especially women, because I really love to speak
Mm,
to women because I'm a woman and I know uniquely the female experience. And so I love us reminding ourselves to put ourselves on a pedestal and do what's comfortable for us. And to know that, and you said it way early in the conversation, not pouring from an empty cup, that fulfilling your needs first is the ultimate way to give back to others, because
yes.
you can't give from you have nothing in parts. You can't. Okay.
Strive. Yeah,
So talk to
strive.
me about this. What are you meaning with this?
I think it this perspective developed as a result of me being trash at self advocacy. I think that I it just wasn't anything I saw modeled. I didn't know what it
Mm,
looked like. I didn't have a point of reference. And acknowledging that my family, my children, my husband, they are the sunshine of my life. They are my greatest joy. But
yeah.
I think that I recognize that I'm my best for them when I have a source that I'm being replenished from. And that is directly connected to the way that I advocate for myself. And I
Hmm.
prioritize the things that feel good for me.
Right.
And I'm allowed to. I'm allowed to have boundaries and limits, even in the context of being a mother, even in the context of
Right.
being a wife, even in the context of all the other hats that I wear as a therapist. I am still allowed to say, well, that's enough for me,
Hmm.
or I need a break, or I need to be replenished in this way. I need to do something that feels good for me. I have to change my narrative, change the story I tell myself about kind of being this sacrificial lamb, and
Girl, yes.
recognizing that in order for me to fulfill my purpose and my destiny and to show up the way I want to show up for the people that I choose to show up for, that cannot happen without me having the things that I need to feel fulfilled and satisfied.
Hmm. I love that. And Crystal's talking to us again. She says, I'm not a mother, but from a child's point of view, I have learned a lot from watching my mom make her mistakes and moments she didn't stick up for herself. And I wish that she had.
Mm,
So, yeah, sometimes we need that modeled for us.
yeah.
And if it's not modeled for us, what is modeled for us is not having boundaries and not,
Mm,
and letting people kind of walk over us.
mm.
And that can be really harmful and really difficult to undo.
Yes, it's not
Yeah.
sustainable, right? It's kind of like we see all of the memes and on Instagram and social media of people acting like their mother when she like, y'all gonna miss me when I'm gone. And the
Mm,
reason why that resonates for so many of us is because that's what we saw in our communities, where
right.
we saw the mother giving until it hurts. I don't know if you've ever seen there was a sketch on SNL several years back. It was a holiday episode. Kristen Wiig was hosting, who I adore. She's hilarious. And there was a sketch about everybody opening presents on Christmas morning. And the kids are rapping about all the stuff they got, the candy canes, the trains, the doll babies, and all these things. And mom's like, and I got a robe. And that's all she got
Mm.
was the robe. And everybody keeps rapping about all the cool, fun stuff they got. And she keeps going back to this funky little red robe that
Not a funky little red robe.
that she got. And my family, because we're comedy nerds, we're watching the episode, and my kids are laughing. But I saw the moment where it shifted for them, when they were like, "Well, that's not fair.
Yeah.
That's not fair that she made the Christmas magic happen for everybody, and nobody made the Christmas magic happen for her. Nobody asked her what she wanted for Christmas. That's not fair. Daddy, did you get mommy? Mommy, what do you want for Christmas? It was like a moment shifted for them where they recognize that sacrifice is not always reciprocated,
Yeah.
right? And I think that I know when that moment happened for me and my development, but I also recognize that so much of that is connected to the way that we advocate for ourselves,
Mm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
You're not gonna hear me say you're gonna miss me when I'm gone, because we're gonna talk about what's gonna happen when I'm here right now.
Yeah. Okay.
We don't need to worry about what's gonna happen when I'm gone. Let's deal with the here and now, because that's what matters. Because it's not gonna be you mourning and weeping and wailing over my casket. No, 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 no. Let's talk about the way that you handled and respected me when I was in the land of the living.
Mm-hmm.
Amen.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that we model self advocacy, and I think what happens when we model self advocacy is that the people we're in relationship with learn our boundaries and limits, and they will also advocate for us.
Mm-hmm. And for themselves.
Yes,
It's
yes,
just a win-win all around
yes,
for
yeah,
everybody.
in circles,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I never saw that episode of SNL, but that's like one of those things where it's funny until the moment that it's not, where it's like,
Yeah,
dang, okay, hold
mm,
on. That's kind
yeah.
of real.
That's the best
Yeah.
kind of comedy, right? When it feels a
Yeah.
little real. Mm.
It's that Dave Chappelle stuff.
Yes, yes, yes. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Oh, okay. Crystal says it made me also not want to be that person and not be a pushover or walked on. I love that that happened for you, Crystal, and thanks for sharing so much with us. You know, I see, when people see a certain thing going on in their lives, they're either going to be the person that shies away from that because they saw it, or the person that repeats it because they saw it.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know much about this. I'm not a therapist. You are. Enlighten me.
Okay, I'll try.
Do you have any insight on what makes, because it could literally be a brother and sister, it could be two people in the same household, just like you said, your children behave this different ways with the same exercise. So I guess we really never know which type of person it's going to turn out to be. Do you
I,
have any insight on which way a person goes?
I think so much is connected to our perspective and our self awareness.
Mhm.
Right? It's the way that I see my world, right? Because everybody could see the same glass in a different way. Some people see it as half full, and some people see it as half empty. It's a matter of perspective. But I
Mhm.
use that perspective to inform my self awareness, right? I
Okay.
have to have um, a an accurate perspective of who I am, because we all have temperament and personality. You know, when you see a baby and they're just kind of born with a thing, that's their temperament, that's their personality. It's
Yeah.
something that's intuitive or natural for them. It's not a matter of right or wrong, it just is what it is.
Mhm.
And so I think that armed with self awareness and perspective, I think that we are functioning in a way that's more open,
Mhm.
like emotionally transparent, because I use that perspective to recognize what's happening with me emotionally. And then I also use that awareness to have more awareness of what's happening with others.
Yeah.
And not everybody has the same level of perspective or self awareness.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. You said something else too. You said we live in a world that often emphasizes self-sacrifice and conformity. And I'm proud to say I'm really seeing women start to come out of this now and put themselves in a higher place, and just more people in general, like we talked about Gen Z and how they are showing us the way. Talk about that a little bit, and how can we overcome something that is so prevalent in our world, that's all around us?
Yeah. I think it requires work. It's kind of like exercising a muscle. I'm not
Mhm.
used to exercising this muscle. And like the first time I try to practice a
Okay.
boundary or a limit, it's super uncomfortable. It's not painful, right? But if I
Right.
remain committed to training it, then eventually it's going to become more natural and intuitive. And so the way, it's kind of like the analogy sometimes I'll use with my clients is I've been getting my nails done for more than half of my life now. I started getting my nails done in high school. And I'm going to say for most of my nail career, it was difficult for me to say if I did not like my nails.
Okay.
It was
Okay.
like, it's fine. Even if it was crooked, even if I didn't like the shape, it was fine. It took practice for me to become more comfortable and to feel more empowered to like, no, I don't like this. It's certainly with consideration and careful,
Mhm.
I can be clear with someone with my boundaries and my limits and my expectation, and it doesn't have to be callous or mean. I
Mhm.
can be clear, but do so in a very careful and considerate way.
What was the do you recognize, like, what the fear was behind saying that you didn't like it at first?
I didn't want to be perceived as difficult. I didn't want to be perceived as being mean. I didn't want to hurt your feelings. Ultimately, I was prioritizing their feelings or perspective over my own.
Mhm. Mhm.
And it took work in developing that muscle to recognize that my perceptions, my wants, my needs, my feelings were just as valuable, if not more valuable, than others.
Yeah, I agree with that. And you know what? When you start doing that, I'm sure it probably, and this is crazy how this works, right? The more you advocate for yourself, the less you really have to, because it's like the world serves you up what you accept,
Yes,
you
I
know?
agree. I agree. I think that
And
people definitely meet the energy that we
yes,
project. Mm-hmm.
yes, 100% agreed. And this is how the world is wired. This is how our brain is wired. It's like we're living in an algorithm. And it's like if you keep accepting nails that you didn't like, you were going to keep getting it
Yeah,
because they were going to be like, oh, she likes it.
yeah.
She must like it. So if it ain't broke, don't fix it, baby. So you were going to you were gonna keep, if you didn't speak up for yourself, you were gonna keep getting messed up nails. And people, I know that's like, a small example for somebody, that's a self-care thing, a grooming thing, but it's that way in everything in life.
Yes, yeah,
What
yeah.
you accept, you will continue to get.
Agreed. I think that there are so many different kinds of boundaries and limits. We have physical boundaries and limits, emotional boundaries and limits, financial, spiritual, emotional, sexual. Like there's so many categories or
Hmm.
types, right? Ultimately, I cannot advocate for myself, function in an empowered way if I don't have the awareness of where my line is. Right? Oh, I didn't
Yeah.
know I didn't like when people did that. I didn't know I didn't like when people talk to me that way, and so I didn't know
Yeah.
what to say. So much of this is connected to the process of being curious about who we are.
Hmm.
Like what makes me tick? Like what makes me feel good? What makes me feel the most comfortable? What is something that I have a strong negative reaction to. I
Mhm.
need to be reflective and curious in order to figure out how to advocate for myself.
I
I
love
can't just
that.
be rah, rah, rah without awareness. I need to understand myself more.
Yeah. Yeah. And I originally wanted to talk to you today because you have some really cool things going on with, okay, let me get this right. The program that you're rolling out is, I don't know why Hot Girl Summer keeps being in my head. I guess I
Because
keep thinking of like
listen,
Megan the Stallion, but
listen, that's what informed it.
yes,
That's what
that
informed
girl.
it.
It's that girl
Yes, that's
Summer.
right. That's right. That girl summer.
I
Yes.
love it. Tell me about that girl Summer.
Yes, I'm so excited about it. That girl summer, interestingly enough, was kind of the brainchild of my husband, who is not a hot girl or that girl. But in discussion with him about some of the goals I had for the year and my want to continue to develop and create more curriculum, he said to me that everybody doesn't want to learn and process deep emotions all the time.
Yeah,
He said
yeah.
sometimes people just want to feel good and to have fun. And that automatically did make me think of Megan the Stallion. A fellow Aquarian, and as a result of that conversation and further processing and reflecting, that girl summer was born. And the purpose of that girl summer is very intentionally to foster more self love, compassion, and curiosity. I really want this to be an opportunity for women to very intentionally fall in deeper love with themselves, to learn more about their their wants, their needs, what makes them feel good. Maybe develop a new skincare routine,
Hmm.
develop some financial goals, start to plan for the future. Ultimately, to just connect to those sources of joy and pleasure that maybe have been in the shadows for too long.
Mm. I love that. And you know what? I had to learn that myself too, that everybody doesn't want to receive the hard education of it all the time and be learning and processing things. They want to have fun. And really it's the way I operate too. Like, yes, I like to exercise and move my body, but I don't like to go to the gym. I don't like to feel like I'm working out. So
Yeah.
I'm the type of person that I want to go to a dance class, or I want to go
Mm.
and hike in the a park or on a trail or something like that. I don't want to know that I'm working out. I want it to sneak up on me. So I love that your husband said that. And sometimes it takes somebody outside of us to let us
Mm.
know because we're so immersed in our world. But I love that he has been an advocate for us
Absolutely.
girls. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
He is championing his wife and all the rest of us women and giving us, a different way to experience not just therapy and talk therapy, but a therapeutic
Yes.
experience,
Yes.
immersing yourself in a
Yes.
therapeutic experience.
I love that, a therapeutic experience, which is
Yeah.
not necessarily clinical, right? I think
Right.
that sometimes the term clinical can feel like cold or
Yeah.
sterile, and I'm not
Yeah.
cold or sterile. I am the sum of lots of experiences, and I
Right.
bring all that with me to my work, including this program. Like, I want to have fun. I love music. I love feeling good. I love skincare. We're going to have lots of fun. We have experts coming in, an esthetician that's going to come in and do like some modeling and uh, some mini facials to kind of communicate and explain like different things. We're going to have an esthetician filler come in and explain like medical aesthetics. We're going to have a financial planner come out and talk about how to develop financial goals. Um, yeah, we're going to have lots of fun. I'm really
I
excited.
love it. That sounds so fun. And I know you are in South New Jersey. So for those of you, and we have a global community, we have women tuning in from not just all over the United States, but we have some people in other countries as well that tune into us. So if you are in the United States and if you are in New Jersey, in South Jersey, then is this in person?
Yes, so I'm
Okay,
going to be hosting the meetings in person, but they are going to be webcast for participants who are not
great.
available for in person. Yeah.
Okay, great. Great. Y'all, please head on over to abrelationship.com and register for that girl summer. That is so exciting. I love all of these businesses and programs that are coming up to elevate women and advocate for women and empower people. I love it and just show them that self-care is not selfish. Being
Yes.
empowered is not stepping on anybody's toes. Knowing what you want and going to get it and living the life that you know you deserve is not against anyone else just because it's for you.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
In fact, I think it prepares us and sets us up to be better in our relationships, in
Mm,
all of our relationships. When because I view the therapeutic process as being restorative, right? It
right.
is something that replenishes me. I am leaving this process feeling more fulfilled, having deeper clarity, deeper understanding, and that informs the rest of my week or whatever happens in between now and my next session. But
Right.
when I have that opportunity to be restored, then I have more patience. I can be a better listener. I am a better communicator, and I get to show up and function as my higher self in my relationship, all of my
Yes.
relationships, mother daughter relationships, parent child relationships, family relationships, professional relationships, dating, intimate relationships. All of this can be positively impacted by me taking care of myself.
Yeah, I agree. And right now, you are really confirming some things for me because another holistic wellness practitioner and myself are getting together to do a project. And we're going to be going into businesses and organizations and talking to them about the power of this self love, self care, and therapeutic experiences and showing them how their wellness initiatives need to be more immersed in their culture and in the everyday work world of their space because like you said it just shapes everything you do. And I remember being in the corporate world and flying around the country and doing a presentation for my employer that was supposed to be about excellence in customer service.
Mm.
But I promise you, I ended up the when I dug and did the research and saw what was going on, 80% of my presentation was about the well-being
Mm.
and the mental health of the staff and of the customers and how to navigate through that because customer service is not about customer service. It's about what's going on with the humans
That's
that are
right.
having the interaction.
Right. Yeah, that's right. I
Yeah.
think that sometimes we overlook the power of human connection. But how do I connect to people in full if I don't have restoration for myself? Because now
Yes.
I'm bringing crumbs with me. I'm not
Yes.
bringing my full self, my whole self. I'm just bringing the parts that are left. And so I want to connect with my whole identity, and how I connect with my whole identity, all of my parts, my joyful part, my anxious part, my worried part, my fearful part. All these parts are valid, but I need to
Mhm.
make sure that I'm managing my parts. And the way that I manage my parts is through restorative practices.
Yes, absolutely. Regular restorative
Regular,
practices. It's not going to
consistent.
help once a year.
Yeah,
Yes.
consistent.
Yes.
Yes, 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 yeah.
I'm
And my
telling
hope
you.
with the That Girl Summer program is that it will be a catalyst to take kind of the mindset of self love, self compassion, and self pleasure to inform the rest of our year, the rest of our life. Like, I'm taking this
Mhm.
message with me, I'm not leaving it behind.
Yes, I love that. I love that more people are opening up to those kind of experiences and accepting them, especially in our working world. We spend more time working than we do in our personal lives and with our family and things like that. And so it's so important that this shows up to work with us every day. I remember being so proud of myself, Taima, years ago in an interview, right? I remember, I don't even know where I came up with this, but I called it cornering. And I told the people in the interview, when I come into work, everything that I've got going on outside of here, I put it in a box and I stick it in a corner and I leave it there until I'm ready to leave work. And then I pick it up on my way back out of the door. And they were like, oh my gosh, that is so amazing. And,
Mm.
you know,
We love
it, but it was actually terrible
They said,
though.
no, they're like, we love it. Have no
We loved
boundaries.
it. Yeah.
It's fantastic.
Don't be yourself here. Don't be yourself at all.
No, put it
Be a
all
robot and a
away.
workaholic. Yes, we want you.
No, I mean, I've been there, right? I've 100% I've been there. It's so interesting. I was, I was trying to find something and I was going through a text chain with my sister and I found a message that I guess we were talking about a trip we were trying to plan. And I said, oh, my boss won't let me take off. And when I read it
Mm,
at time at this stage, I was like, what?
mhm,
And it made me remember like how much disassociation
mhm.
was a part of the way that I showed up in my professional life, where it's literally kind of cutting off what I want or what I need or what has value for me for the sake of this corporation or for this job.
Yeah. It was
And I
like
don't
we were devaluing
exactly.
ourselves.
And it's not, and there's a reason, right? There's trauma,
Yeah.
genetic trauma, all kinds of trauma that just comes from being like a marginalized person in this country
Yes.
that informs that. But when we know better, we have an opportunity to do better. And I can choose another path other than disconnecting from my value.
Exactly.
Mm,
Disconnecting from myself, you know?
yes, yes,
There's a
yes,
way to do to be at work and to function at work and not make it all about what's personal, but you are your personal self and it never leaves you. You know what I
yes.
mean? Crystal's chiming in with us. Cornering, great way to explain that. I do that also, and vice versa. When I walk out of work, I leave all of work there. I like this about me. I like that about you too, Crystal,
Yeah,
because I mean, it's good when you can leave work at work. I was never the person that was able to do that. And maybe that's the Virgo in me, the perfectionist in me, the overachiever in me, the people pleaser in me, the pick me in me, the single mom in me, afraid to lose my job and be on the street being homeless, whatever that was. My fears were popping. Okay. And I could never leave work at work, even though I wanted to. It was always in the background. I was always thinking about what's the next thing I got to do, or what do I have to prepare for. So, Crystal, I honor you for that, and keep doing that, and keep cherishing yourself in that way and having your
yes,
boundaries. You know what
yeah.
I mean?
Amazing job. Yeah.
Yes. All right, let's get out of here on one of your beautiful quotes. I love everything that you said when we were preparing for this chat. By recognizing and honoring our boundaries, wants, and needs, as well as embracing the pursuit of pleasure, we empower ourselves to live authentically and joyfully. Ooh, can we get a T-shirt with that? I just want one that says the pursuit of pleasure, okay?
Yeah, yeah,
Because
actually,
that word
it's
seems
going to
like a dirty
be.
word.
It does, and I very intentionally use it. In fact, it's going to be my next tattoo. Um,
Yes.
but I think that I agree wholeheartedly. I think that we have been socialized to think that pleasure in itself is dirty or bad,
Mhm.
and I
Mhm.
think that that belief informs the way that we. Um, Advocate for ourselves or prioritize the things that feel good when the reality is I am allowed to live joyfully and to pursue
Mhm.
pleasure if that's authentic.
Mhm.
And what brings me pleasure or joy doesn't have to bring you pleasure or joy, but that doesn't mean that I shouldn't pursue it because I am allowed to.
That's right. I'm
I'm
allowed to
allowed.
do what's
I'm
pleasurable for
entitled. I'm
me.
entitled, and I'm empowered to do so. But I think
Love
that
it.
that change that requires sometimes be changing the narrative or the tape um, of what I've been told I deserve.
Right. Right. What I've been told, what I don't even remember
Yes,
that
that's how
I've been
deep it
told.
is. Yeah, that's how deep it is. That's what makes the narrative so covert. Is it almost becomes like elevator music where I don't even notice it anymore. But it's
Yes.
been cycling and looping, and it informs everything. Like, I don't even hear it anymore. And so it really requires redirecting, like actively on purpose with intention and mindfulness, choosing
Mhm.
another path. I'm going to honor my boundaries. I'm going to honor my wants and my needs. And I'm going to embrace that I'm allowed to pursue pleasure and joy because it's authentic. I'm allowed, it's authentic to who I am.
Yes. And it's not selfish.
No, no.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. And it just being so intentional and doing it over and over and over again because you've got so much weight in the other direction. Like if you imagine a rope for a tug of war, and there's a bunch of people on one side with your past and what you've been developed to think and believe, and just one person on the good side, and you're trying to tug and pull. You're like, I need more people, and by doing it consistently and being consistently, more people will come on that side of the rope, and it'll get easier and easier. Like you said before, you said it's like a muscle, it's like exercising. And at first, it's actually painful.
Mm-hmm.
And you're so sore afterwards that you actually don't want to do it anymore.
It's the last thing I want to do. Have you ever done
Yeah.
like when you do leg day for the first time in a while?
Girl,
It's like
you're like,
just
I'm
cut
never
my
going to do it
legs off
again.
and leave me here.
But if we keep doing it,
If we stay committed to the process,
we're going to be all
then
right.
eventually I can add more ways to this. The
True
thing
that.
that I thought was going to destroy me, now I can go past it. That's the value of the therapeutic process, not just
Mm,
these feel good conversations we have, these one and dones, like to remain committed to the process, investing in
yes.
ourselves in this way. I think it can create such remarkable, miraculous, powerful things.
Yes. I love it. Thank you. Thank you for sharing with me. This has been amazing. I haven't talked to you in like 20 years, but this was so comfortable.
Yeah,
And
it feels like we jumped right back in. It's always
yes,
great to talk to you, Jamie.
this was so comfortable, and I can tell that you really know what you're doing with your practice and
Oh,
everything,
thank
because
you,
I
Jamie.
just feel so at ease, and I'm so excited for your program. Please keep me informed. I'm going to stay in touch with you because I love to stay connected to other wellness professionals, because we've all got to do this together and help our people to grow. And the more we do this, the more it's going to reverberate around the world, and we can all be like Gen Z one day and know
Oh,
our
fingers
boundaries. And
crossed. Fingers
yes,
crossed.
everybody, please check out more about Miss Taima Gates and her practice and all of the events that she has going on at abrelationships.com. Check out that girl summer. I'm really excited to see what you've got going on with that and more that you come up with. If you go on the website, you all, you will see even more events and things that she has. So really take advantage of this if you are in her area, or take advantage of any of the virtual services that they have going on, because everybody is not doing this. So Taima and her other therapist associates are on the cutting edge with being able to immerse you in a more fun wellness experience that is non-clinical. So thank you for advocating for those types of experiences, Taima. I appreciate you.
Thank you so much for having me, Jamie. It's been fantastic to talk and share.
Same, same. All right, y'all, we are out of here. And for those of you who are joining us live, thank you so much for connecting with us. If you're watching the replay, hashtag replay, and go ahead and comment. If you have any questions, let us know. And we will catch you next time.